In the sandhills of Nebraska, the Schweitzer and Morgan ranches stretch across more than 21,000 acres. The families have been neighbors for generations, and though the ranches are completely separate businesses, the two families work together in the Gracie Creek Landowners Association.
We started the Gracie Creek Landowners Association after my dad and I had traveled to the African country of Namibia. And what we saw over there was how private landowners really got together and collaborated on these common concerns or common goals. And the impact that they had on the broad landscape was just so undeniable.
The Gracie Creek Landowners Association is very effective in using our resources and getting our resources. Really, that's what it works as, is an agent so that we have an ability to apply for and get different grants so that we can get resources to work with.
We can make a bigger difference. You know, I can do everything right, and the Morgans can do everything right. But when we put it all together, then we've made a big difference because the land joins and it's a bigger area, you know.
We're in an area where the ranching heritage is very deep, and all of us are good stewards of the land, and we learn from each other.
Both families have worked to keep their ranches economically sustainable in different ways. The Morgans raise Hereford seed stock and show animals and finish their own Wagyu cattle to market Morgan Ranch beef worldwide.
It's really gate to plate, and that's something we think is really cool. We can trace the animals all the way from we put them into their breeding pastures, and then we own that animal all the way until it's a retailed piece of meat.
The Schweitzers have brought another generation back home by diversifying with more custom grazing and creating a hunting and tourism operation called Calamus Outfitters.
And one of the most rewarding parts of our tourism operation is taking people out onto the landscape and seeing for themselves where their food comes from. And there's no denying, after they sense it with all five senses, cattle and stewardship can go hand in hand.
Together, the Schweitzers and Morgans are tackling a number of projects to improve their resources. Through the Gracie Creek Landowners Association, they created an integrated stewardship plan and obtained a grant to buy a tree cutter to remove invasive red cedar trees.
The cedar trees were a huge problem. They were overtaking the north face of the hills and making them so that they were virtually no good to cattle.
We've been able to accomplish more in the few short years that we've had the Landowners Association, more than we ever thought we could. We've probably fast-forwarded our timeline on a lot of our landscape goals by at least 10 or 15 years.
The two ranches have worked to disperse cattle grazing across a wider area by adding solar-powered water systems and cross-fencing. For improved grass production, both families make use of prescribed burns and deferred grazing systems.
So we do rotational grazing. We rotate these cows from pasture to pasture and keep them grazing. I really like it because it's helping heal different spots.
The families are also trying to reintroduce an endangered plant that only occurs in sandhill blowouts.
The blowout penstemon, to me, it's such a great example of the type of creature that inhabits the sandhills, that they choose to live in this environment that hardly anything else would choose to live in. They're tough, and yet they're beautiful, and their purpose is to make the land better for the next thing.
In every direction, you can see results. The banks of Gracie Creek are grassed over and stabilized, and all of their stewardship efforts have the benefit of providing critical habitat for wildlife and birds.
Real good grassland management through livestock grazing also leads to very good grassland bird habitats.
I think what impresses me about the Gracie Creek Landowners Association is the idea that they really take ranching and they combine it with their environmental goals, and they do it together. You know, they think about the birds and they think about the wildlife, and that in turn helps their ranching goals.
Every day, the families of the Gracie Creek Landowners Association work to care for the grasslands of the Sandhills, with an eye toward a sustainable future.
My biggest dream is to see next generations come back and the generations after that and maintain this land as it has always been.
We've always told the kids, and the grandkids are also being raised, that you have to take care of the land. If you're going to be in business and you want to be in business every year, then you have to take care of the land.
When you can saddle up and take the whole family out for a ride like we did this morning, when there's 3 generations of us a horseback, you know you're teaching that young generation a stewardship from day one.
Seeing the kids being brought up on the ranch is really satisfying. Being able to instill in them an appreciation of where they're at, the freedoms they enjoy, the beauty that they're surrounded in, and the fact that we're so blessed to live here and take care of it.